Go live. Okay, it's thinking.
There it is.
Oh, that's cool. It tells you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. My name is Charlene Platon, CEO and co-founder of WellNurse, and we are a platform working to empower nurses to be their best selves. And today, it's truly my honor to introduce our very first WellNurse Spotlight. We have Aliya Aaron, MSHS, BSN, RN. And Aliya is a nurse entrepreneur, startup investor, and advisor with over 20 years of healthcare experience. And Aliya is the founder and CEO of AMR Healthcare Consulting, LLC, which is an award-winning technology firm providing software development services and solutions for the healthcare industry, and it was established in 2010. AMR was recently honored with CIO Review, 20 Most Promising Healthcare Consulting Service Companies 2019. And AMR's clients include health systems, hospitals, private practices, clinics, LTACs, SNFs, laboratories, healthcare startups, EHR vendors, and more. And Aliya is also the founder of the Nursing Innovation Hub, or NIHUB, which is a virtual incubator and accelerator for nurse-led tech startups with a global innovation platform, which was launched in 2019. NIHUB's matchmaking algorithms are connecting nurses with a community of resources to help foster the integration of new technologies into the healthcare system. NIHUB has been partnered with leading technology companies and healthcare organizations to provide its members access to advanced technologies, education, tools, resources, and industry experts to help bring their high-tech ideas to life. Aliya is also part of the founding team of the Texas Global Health Security Innovation Consortium, which is dedicated to coordinating efforts to support innovators and innovations fighting COVID-19 and future pandemics, organized by the Austin Technology Incubator at the University of Texas at Austin. And Aliya has been featured in CIO Review, Women in Tech Review, MedTech Outlook, Legacy Magazine, Today's Purpose Woman, Journal of Nursing Informatics, and International Archives of Nursing and Healthcare. And her honors include South Florida Top Black Healthcare Professionals 2019. And Aliya has a Master of Science in Health Systems Management from George Mason University, as well as a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Winston-Salem State University. And we are so excited to have you here, Aliya.
Thank you, Charlene. Thank you for inviting me. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to conversation, discussions, and everything.
Yes, and we are so glad to have you. Aliya is our very first spotlight in WellNurse. And so with WellNurse, we really wanted to find nurses who are prominent in their fields, who have a lot to offer to nurses in terms of their own journeys and what they do right now, as well as what they have been experiencing with their own self-care and wellness. And so with that being said, just to those who have joined a little bit later, if you do have questions that you'd like to ask Aliya during this conversation, please do so on our chat feature on Zoom, and then we'll be able to ask Aliya those questions. We have some questions that we have from our WellNurse community, which we can go ahead and get started with, but again, this is also a conversation, so feel free to post in the chat. So just to get started, Aliya, please tell us about yourself. We'd love to hear more about your journey. You've accomplished so much, so we'd love an introduction.
Sure. Well, yeah, I'll give you a brief introduction, but so I'm originally actually from North Carolina. I live in South Florida, which I love the weather here. And my background, like you mentioned, I studied nursing at a historically Black university, which is Winston-Salem State University. Both my parents actually went there too, and my sister. From there, once I graduated, I actually went straight to work after passing my boards and went to work in ICU. And I loved ICU because I thought this is pretty cool, because if you can work in ICU, you can work in anywhere in the hospital. So I worked full-time as a nurse in ICU before I stepped out and started working as a travel nurse. So I was a travel nurse all around the country in critical care and trauma hospitals, working from small community hospitals when I would take a break and do kind of a 13-week contract, and work on the smaller scale into some of the larger facilities like Georgetown or in LA, where there was a huge like trauma center there. So I did that, worked as a trauma nurse. I really enjoyed being a travel nurse and being able to work with so many different hospitals, see so many, touch so many lives, different patient lives, and just really gave me a well-rounded experience in healthcare as a nurse, especially as a new nurse. You had to have 18 months of experience before you could go on to be a travel nurse. So I did my 18 months and then I headed off to travel. And so from travel nursing, that led me to research. So I moved back to Maryland and I started working as a nurse researcher for NIH. I worked in stroke research. I worked in complementary alternative medicine research, as well as we did some really cool research with chocolate. And so I worked as a research nurse while I was in graduate school. I went to George Mason University for graduate school and studied my master's in health systems. And I started learning about technology in grad school. I learned about how technology was really beginning to enhance the field of nursing and medicine. And one of my instructors or my professors was the chief medical information officer for the Veterans Health Administration in Maryland. So he really introduced us to the open source Vista platform for the Veterans Health Administration. And he says, well, since you're taking a liking into this technology, why don't you really look at going into that space? So I thought, well, I don't really know much about it, except the fact that I've been a travel nurse. I've worked with so many different hospitals with countless systems. Maybe I'll take a look at it. And so I started working as I was working as a researcher, and then I started working as a consultant for the Veterans Health Administration Chief Nursing Informatics Office. And that really started my brain to start churning around this whole technology thing. I thought about the different possibilities and how clinical care really, interacted with the technology aspect. And that led me to start working with some of the larger vendors in the space of healthcare technology. And that was back in 2006 or 7 is when I really stepped into the technology space. And I worked with the vendors building enterprise solutions for hospitals and physician practices all across the US and abroad, and working with those clinicians in the hospitals, the nurses, the doctors, the ancillary care staff, and really designing workflows to help those providers improve their patient care with the use of technology. And so that's how I got started in technology. And then in 2010, I started AMR Healthcare Consulting. In 2019, I started Nurse Innovation Hub, and I really love what I'm doing. I've worked as an adjunct nursing instructor as well at one of the local colleges here in Florida, and taught nursing to LPNs that are going into RN, that are going to become an RN. So I've had a wide variety of experience in a lot of areas of nursing. I've also consulted with law firms from a legal nurse perspective of looking at medical malpractice through the use of utilizing like technology to be able to review cases. So I've done a lot.
You definitely have, and it's such an amazing journey to hear about all the different things you've done. And we're definitely going to get into those questions too, because we have so many things we want to ask.
Okay.
And I do want to start first with, first, thank you for sharing about your journey. It's really so interesting and so exciting. And, with WellNurse, we're really interested in promoting the well-being of nurses. And in nursing, you don't always have the opportunity to hear about nurses and their own personal self-care wellness journeys. Would you mind speaking to your own journey with self-care and wellness and how it helped you to where you are now?
Oh, sure. I love self-care. It's all about self, because if you can't take care of yourself, like the flight attendant says, if you can't put your mask on before you help anyone else, right? So although I speak about my journey through healthcare and technology, I also am co-founder of a health and wellness clinic here in South Florida, which has since relaunched as a virtual health and wellness clinic. So obviously, because I'm a nurse, that's really near and dear to my heart. I take it very serious because as we work with patients day in and day out, we have to make sure that we are well. You can't, if you're sick, you can't treat sick patients. So I personally like to indulge in relaxing and peaceful and meditation
Mhm.
to help me. That's how I de-stress, relax. And then I also like to work with my wellness clinic and help others in just a healthy and disease prevention state because that's what I practice, a holistic lifestyle.
Yeah, that's amazing, Aliya. Thank you so much. And it's great to hear that you've had a lot of that direct experience with your self-care and wellness journey. And so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, sure.
And do you think that with your journey with self-care really kind of helped to propel you to the direction where you currently stand in terms of, investing in yourself and really kind of moving forward and having that confidence?
I think so because you have to invest in yourself. And I've done that through education. I've done that through experiences. In order to move yourself from one place to the next, I invest in myself when I want to achieve a goal that I set, right? Then I invest the time to learn, to study, and to grow in so that I can move in the direction that I want to pursue.
Yeah, that's great. And what would you say are some of the biggest barriers or setbacks that you encountered when you did make the switch from clinical nursing to the world of technology and entrepreneurship? Because it's such a different field,
It,
you know?
it, it
Mhm.
really is. It's a huge leap. I'll tell you what, when I first started, before I even got to the entrepreneurial side, I was just trying to make the leap from bedside. So I had a huge barrier in front of me because I didn't really know how to use technology. I didn't remember how to, since I left college and I worked in the field. I mean, I worked, at the bedside for a long time. And when you work at the bedside, you are focused on patient care, learning the EMRs and all the different devices that you have to deal with on a daily basis, the glucometers. You're not working on the computer and writing up project documents and all that. I didn't even know how to put together a resume. I was a great ICU and trauma nurse, but when I sat down to the computer, I was like, now what am I trying to remember how to do? Use Word, use Excel, use all of these different fancy, products. I couldn't remember how to do it. So I had to invest in myself and I had to go back to school. And that's what helped me go to school to start with my master's because I really wanted to just take a level up. And the hardest part was moving away from clinical care because as a nurse, people see you as a nurse. They want you at the bedside, they want you taking care of patients. And a lot of times they didn't see nurses working on the business side or in research. It's kind of like, how do you get into that side of healthcare? So I felt boxed in because I didn't have experience from the business side or from the technology side or any other side besides patient care. So I had to invest in myself to learn in order to move myself in that direction.
Right, absolutely. And I totally understand what you mean when you say that it's hard because you do feel boxed in trying to do something different. Every time you try to do anything different, that's even though nursing has such an expansive, field, it's an
Right.
expansive field and you have so many different directions you could take. It really is hard to kind of be even in the outpatient setting, right? As a nurse. So it definitely says a lot when you chose to make the decision to, pursue something so different. So, um,
It was a pivot, it was a huge pivot that I had to really start to investing in learning how to get to that point where I wanted to go. And I'm a believer of continuous learning. So at no point do I ever stop reading, learning, exploring, doing research on opportunities that are there and potential opportunities that are haven't been, uncovered yet. So I always like to do that.
and how did you know that technology was really where you wanted to go? Because I feel like nursing has so much potential where and so many options.
Right.
How did you know that technology was really where you wanted to be?
Well, after I worked at the bedside for a while, and then I worked as a nurse researcher, I had a lot of experience in various different hospitals. And I thought about going into administration, working in hospital administration. But once I learned about technology, I realized that technology was, and it would enable me to be able to reach a larger mass. And so I wanted to really start looking at how I could use technology to touch the business side of healthcare, to touch the patients, the families, to look at how I could incorporate it into some of the other areas that I thought was interesting, such as research, right? And once
Right.
I started getting into technology and learning about the various, because in nursing, there's so many different levels to nursing. The same thing with technology. You can work as a software developer, you can work as a project manager, you can work as an entrepreneur. You can also, work for the various companies. So I really had to explore what would be best for me. And that is how I was able to really enjoy working in the field of healthcare technology by finding my niche purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It sounds like you really had to do some soul searching, but also kind of combining what you really enjoyed doing and just figuring, and just like you said, you found your niche, where you really wanted to be.
Right. I just had to figure out what made me happy, what did I like to do, and what was my end goal, and what was I trying to pursue, and how I could help others. And then once I figured out the mix and the match of it using my past experiences, I was able to hone in on where I fit in.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Aliya.
Yeah.
And we know that you have so much experience now with starting businesses and really, and being an entrepreneur. And what would you say, what would you say to the nurses on this call right now, if they're interested in starting a business? Starting a business is really not an easy task at all. I'm sure you'd be the first to agree.
Right.
And how did you overcome this fear of starting your businesses and really taking that leap?
Well, there's always a sense of fear, but fear and faith don't live in the same body. And so I decided, why not? Right? What's the worst that you could lose? And once I decided what I want to do, I just set my goals and my mission and I moved on it. And in order for me to acquire the knowledge that I needed, I read, I study, I research, and I also seek out mentors. I seek out those that have more experience than myself, and I seek out those that are able to help me in my journey. And you continue to do that throughout your journey of entrepreneurship, regardless of what type of business you want to start, whether it be in as a startup in technology, or if you want to start a health and wellness business, or if you want to start any other business. You really have to understand the rules and regulations to setting up a business, understanding intellectual properties and patents, if you want to go into medical device development, or in consulting, like I started. So there's a lot of information to be gained, but there are a lot of resources available at free and for free. When I started off, I used some of the free resources to really help me gain set my attention on what needed to happen. And then as I continue in my journey of life, I continue to seek out others that I can rely on for information, as well as continue to research and study.
Right. Thank you. That's great. And what would you say is your number one piece of advice for nurses who are thinking of taking that leap and building their own business?
I say do it, jump. Why not? Time is tomorrow is not promised. Life is short. You might as well go ahead and take that leap. That's the way I look at it. Some people, may look at it from a different direction, but I'm very enthusiastic. I like to say, why not? Right? As long as you're not putting yourself at risk and you're not doing anything illegal, go ahead and take the risk. The world is yours. The sky's the limit. Go for it.
Right. And I really like that you talk about risk, because I mean, you really can't accomplish the job of your dreams without taking these risks,
You gotta
right?
take the leap. You gotta
Right.
take the leap. You can sit at home and you can think all day, I'm going to do this tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes 364 days later, and nothing has moved. And nothing has moved, or it's just like, what are you waiting for?
Right. And in terms of business ideas, or just in general ideas that nurses may have, how do you get your ideas out to, the masses? Like what do you recommend is a great approach for a nurse who does have an idea and they want to kind of see if it works or see if it's a good idea to work on?
Well, you always start with your immediate circle, form your own little focus group, because the worst thing you can do is spend all your time developing a service, product, or a solution and nobody buys it. So start with those that are close to you and say, hey, I thought about this idea and what do you think? Get some feedback, buy-in. They do it all the time with while they're releasing products. They allow, you can go to the mall, you can survey, you can use your universities if you're in a school, you can use those that are at your job if you work for a business, and get some feedback, get some buy-in.
Right. Absolutely. And what other pieces of advice do you have for nurses who are budding entrepreneurs? Anything
Um,
that kind of comes to the top of your head?
yeah, the biggest piece of advice that I have is that set your sights on where you want to be 2, 3, 4 years from now, and go for it. Make a plan, make it plain and simple, write it out, and decide how you can start knocking down some of those milestones. Decide what path you need to take. And if you are undecided, you can always seek out mentors. Mentors are very important because those are people that have expert knowledge in areas that you care to gain, and may be willing to help you free of charge. There are resources out here. Make use of those resources. And Nurse Innovation Hub is actually one of those resources. For nurses, just saying. That's the whole reason. Nurse Innovation Hub was built to be a resource for nurses that are focused on digital health technologies, if they're looking at building a startup, have an idea in the area. However, there are other companies out here that could potentially help you in other areas such as fitness, health, nutrition, if those are areas that you want to focus in on. Find someone that's doing what you would like to do, that's not a competitor, and get to understand the business that you want to get into.
Yeah, and that's great. And for those who are on the call, do you want to repeat really quickly what Nurse Innovation Hub does or what it can offer to new entrepreneurs or to entrepreneurs in general?
Nurse Innovation Hub is an incubator and accelerator for nurse-led tech solutions. And what we do is we act as a hub where we provide resources, which includes experts in the field, subject matter experts in the areas of marketing, legal, finance, business development, to really help nurses that have an idea or that have already started investing in a product that they want to see to fruition, that they could potentially commercialize. We help match nurses up with mentors, with advisors. We match them up with organizations that are looking for nurses to really help them vet out products that they want to commercialize and more. So I'm super excited about it. We are continuing to build and expand. Just launched last year. We've been able to partner with several organizations that are actually helping us uplift our mission and vision. So super excited.
Yeah, it's an amazing resource, Lee, and I think it's much needed, especially in the nursing community, especially for nurses who are innovators and who are entrepreneurs and really want to move it to the next level. So really excited to hear more about Nurse Innovation Hub and its progress. And, I followed your journey with Nurse Innovation Hub since the beginning, and I feel like I remember your first, few posts about it, and I got so excited, and I'm really glad to still connect with you, up until this point and still learn from you. So it's really awesome.
Of course, nursing is in and of itself is a community. And so I can appreciate you launching your platform and helping other nurses that are listening, to really just bring nursing to the forefront, because all too often, nursing is an afterthought. So I can appreciate the WellNurse community, and to, especially in this time that we're in now, in this pandemic, is all too important to take care of yourself, to be well, to be healthy, and to maintain mental, physical, and a spiritual balance in that sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, now is an incredibly stressful, challenging time for many different reasons. And so we really want to do what we can to help nurses. And, and remind them that even no matter how challenging it is, there's always opportunity to take care of yourself, to really promote your own personal well-being, and that really impacts all the facets of your life, including if you want to become an entrepreneur and an innovator, and really go that direction as well.
Absolutely.
So incredibly important to have the community, and incredibly exciting to hear about the community that you're building with Nursing Innovation Hub, and to know that these resources exist now that really didn't exist even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And so it's an incredibly awesome, exciting time for nurses, especially if they're early in their career right now. There's just so many things that are happening. So it's wonderful.
Absolutely.
And, do you have any advice for nurses who really want to expand their network? Because I often hear questions from nurses about, how do you find a mentor, or how do you even find other people who are like-minded as you?
Right.
Any recommendations you have for that?
Sure. Start with your circle close to you. Ask for recommendations. Let them know what your goal is, what you're trying to pursue. If you're in school, talk to a professor. If you're at work, talk to one of your managers, supervisors, or your coworker. If you are working in a hospital or a clinic, whatever area that you work in, there's always someone that can maybe help you connect to the next person. Then there's social media, which social media is a huge platform. It allows you, 5 degrees of connection in 0.2 seconds. So use social media outlets, post about what you're looking for and, your objectives, and hopefully someone will respond. And don't give up. Be persistent. Continue moving in that direction until you feel satisfied that you've landed the opportunities that you're looking for. Reach out to past connections that you have worked with. Reach out to organizations that you're part of. I'm a part of a lot of organizations where I've sit on a couple boards, and you have to get out of the box, because if you stay in the box, nobody is going to come and knock at your box. So, I'm not knocking at boxes, right? I'm out here talking and networking and collaborating. That's how it's done. You can't
Yeah,
be
that's great.
out.
And I really like how you framed it, because it's true. A lot of this networking involves you going out and reaching out to other people, really seeing who's out there, even within your own circle.
Right.
And I found that the nursing community is actually a lot smaller than you might think. I think that now we have 28 million nurses worldwide, but the nursing community is still it feels incredibly small. I feel like if you know one person, they'll know another person who will be able to refer you to another person. So it really pays off to get to know who is around you, because the chances are that they know someone who can really help you and find someone who's like-minded.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be a nursing. I have a lot of physicians, a lot of physical therapists, a lot of, business lawyers that I connect with. It really depends on what it is that you're looking for in a mentor and how they can help you find that person.
Right, absolutely. And what would during your journey, since you've done so many things that are unique, and since you've done a lot of things out of the box, how did you approach any people who are kind of naysayers, or who were because I'm sure a lot of people who are on this call are really interested in going outside of their box, but hear from a lot of other people like, no, you have to stay inside the box. It's scary out there. Don't, you won't be able to succeed. How have you handled that throughout your journey, if you've had those kinds of experiences?
Well, that's life. There's always naysayers. And my philosophy on life is just to go forward. And if you listen to other people's opinions, you will never even get out the bed in the morning. So,
Right.
right? No, don't get out the bed. Get out the bed. Don't get out the bed. So, the way that I approach life is, listen, I'm here. I'm going to live it. The sky is the limit. There's no stopping. You have to persevere through it all. You be humble and confident at the same time. And you never give up, because, it's not built in a day, right? It may take you 365 days or more to do what you want to accomplish. But if that's what you want to do, you do it. You set your mind on it. and you leave the naysayers on the other side of the road, and you find your community that connects with you and supports you. Everyone doesn't support you, which is okay, right? It's completely okay. I'm not here to change opinions, right? I'm here to make a difference. So,
Right. And what would you say, when when you did move from the bedside to, your current role or to the technology world or the world outside of the traditional sense of nursing, um, what was it that made you, or I guess, when did you decide to pursue it full time? Because I think there's a lot of hesitancy in terms of pursuing something full time if you're in something that's, really kind of like you might perceive as really stable, staying in a healthcare system. What kind of thoughts do you have about nurses who want to pursue an idea, or thoughts about nurses who want to jump into something full time? Because it can be scary and things like that. But when did it work for you?
well, it worked for me when I was really willing to take the risk. I'm a professional risk taker at all times, right?
I
Calculated,
love that.
calculated risk. When I was ready to take the risk and to make that jump, that's what I decided to do. I've worked, like I mentioned before, I worked full time. I worked for the larger and the smaller corporations. But at that moment in time, I thought, this is my time. This is what I want to do. And so I took a calculated risk. I understood what my pros and cons were. I understood where my 2 and 5 year goals were. And that's why I set my mind on that.
Hmm. So it sounds more like you really kind of had the sense of when you wanted to achieve those goals. You wrote them out. You kind of framed your journey so that by the time you do pursue that, it was within the it was in the best timing and the best interest for you.
That's interest for me. No one can tell you when it's time for you to, begin the journey. You have to decide that for yourself, because it is your life, right? And it's your journey and your goals. So what's right for me may not have been right for someone else at the time. And
Right.
I
Absolutely.
can tell you it's harder when you have a full-time family, you have full-time children and all of that. It's a harder decision to do. At the time when I decided to jump into entrepreneurship, I didn't have a family and I finished schooling. And so I was at a point in my life where I was ready to make a new adjustment and take a risk.
Right. Hmm.
Now I have a
And
full-time family.
what's that?
Now I have a full-time family.
Oh yeah, and you're absolutely right. No one can tell you when it's your time to really go kind of more all in into your idea. You know yourself the best, so you know for yourself when to have that journey or when to pursue that journey. And if it feels like really rocky and uncertain, maybe that's not the best time. But I really like what you mentioned about that. And yeah, it is different if you have a family, if you don't, if you're in school, if you're not, if you're working 3 jobs, if you're not. So those are all important considerations to make.
Absolutely. Someone posed a question, Angela, thank you, about um, did you start your job while you were working another job, or did you jump in full time from the get go? I actually was working full time, and decided that I wanted to then go full time into entrepreneurship at that moment. So I was working full time, which allowed me to have that ground, right, before I decided to jump into entrepreneurship.
Right. And it looks like there's another question too. Is the Nurse Innovation Hub mainly focused on working with nurses in tech?
Yes, our main focus is to work in the digital health space. We are really focused on that because we do believe digital health is a space that is, particularly in nursing and in healthcare, is exploding, and that's where we decided to focus on over the years. As we continue to phase and grow, there may be other areas that we will bring in, but it is focused on digital health tech.
Right. And it sounds like for the digital health, it's a pretty wide range too, right? Like it could be about a lot of different kinds of areas of the, digital space and a lot of different ideas, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's very varied, very varied.
Hmm. And we have other questions as well. And from Kathy, um, it looks like it's about hackathons. So could you tell us about hackathons and how do you get involved with them?
Oh, hackathons are great. I actually participated or attended a hackathon over a year or so ago, I believe it was, with SunTL. They actually put one on, but there are various hackathons, particularly in healthcare around digital health, med tech, where you can participate in. And it's basically a coming together of industry. You don't have to be an expert per se. That don't let that persuade you, but you come together with others in the industry and you really hack your brain on solutions to address a problem. So, for instance, a nurse hackathon could be centered, or a hackathon in general could have nurses working with technologists, working with physicians, working with engineers to really hack your brain to come up with a solution of how to address social determinants of health.
Right, exactly.
Involved by one of the questions, how does nurses get involved? Nurses can get involved by if you join some of the organizations that put them on. I know MIT hackathon, they put on a lot of hackathons. Follow them on social media. SunCL has put on a hackathon. There are a lot of hospitals hold their own hackathons. Get involved with organizations, follow those organizations on social media, keep abreast of events that are coming down the pipeline.
Right. And I remember that hackathon and I met you there. Oh my gosh, it was the first time I ever met you in person, and I had been following your journey for a while. That was the hackathon in New Jersey back in November of last year, which feels so long ago at this
5 years ago, right? Yeah. Someone asked a question about what is SunCL, and I know Charlene is heavily involved. Do you want to take that?
Sure. So SunCL, and great question. SunCL is the Society of Nurse Scientists, Innovators, Entrepreneurs, and Leaders. So for those of you on the call who are not familiar with SunCL, they actually are one of the organizations for nurses that are highly involved in organizing these hackathons that nurses can participate in. Just like Aliya mentioned earlier, a lot of non-nurses also join these events because you are kind of working in an interdisciplinary fashion to build an idea. And oftentimes when you're in the hackathon, you also start to build the idea or the solution that you want to pursue. So in the hackathon that Aliya and I joined in in New Jersey back in November, that was also sponsored by Johnson & Johnson, which is obviously a huge healthcare company.
Yeah.
And then, this past May, there was another hackathon specifically for COVID-19, which Johnson & Johnson was also part of that. Microsoft, other huge organizations. So there's been more and more popping up. Yeah. And so, SunCL is a great organization in general, and I'll post a link to join that on the group. It is nursing focused, but I think that you could also join too if you're not a nurse and you just want to learn more about nursing innovation. But it's an amazing organization. I'm part of it, but I highly recommend for everyone to join, especially if you are interested in innovation. They have a lot of exciting opportunities in general, also outside of hackathons. They're highly involved with the United Nations, for example. They also just recently launched an opportunity to speak on TEDx for Beacon Street for nurses. So they are highly connected. And I just put their link on the chat. Mm-hmm.
It's a good organization, as well as if you're not involved with the American Nurses Association, also the local chapters in your cities as well.
Absolutely. And then Kathy also asked, did you ever have an idea fail? Which is a great question.
Failure is progress, the way I look at it. So all ideas are not great ideas. Just because you think it's a great idea, and once you start to vet it out, it's kind of like, well, that's, and you take it down that path, they don't always succeed. So yes, I have had some ideas to fail, but that doesn't stop me on my journey. You pivot and you change the way that you are targeting, and then you keep going.
Right. And thank you for sharing that. And I would say absolutely, ideas, it's not always about the idea, but really just pursuing the right kinds of, you eventually come to the point where you find the idea that works. Right. And that could take a lot of iterations. That's exactly what iterations are. It's progress to really refine what exactly it is that you want to target. And I'm sure, Aliya, you've had that experience with building Nurse Innovation Hub, with building your consulting company and doing all of that work. And so it's a natural part of the process.
Yeah. There's a question about someone starting their F&P tomorrow. Thank you, Condi. And you have an interest in tech and informatics, which is great. And you wanted to know if going back to school for a degree in informatics is something recommended, but your main goal is integrated preventive care and technology. If you are, there's many ways to achieve that. If you are in school to get your master's in nursing, there's a certificate that you can, if you focus in on practitioner, you also can get a certificate in informatics. Or you can pursue a master's in informatics. I've seen it both ways, where a lot of nurses have an interest like in informatics, but they're nurse practitioners and they go back and just get that certification. If your main goal is integrative in preventive care, then I would probably suggest that you continue on with your F&P in that area. And then afterward, if you're still interested in the informatics, look to the MSN certification in informatics, which could be done shortly after. So Angela asked about Nurse Innovation Hub. Is it a membership forum? It is, but it's free to join. And the paid memberships are for various tiers that you wish to pursue more with, but it is free to join. Please do so. If you feel inclined to, you can do that by www.innovatenursehub.com. And Nurse Innovation Hub, someone asked another question, Alyssa, thank you. Do you think Nurse Innovation Hub can offer support for nurses who offer coaching services, or a nurse coach who can exchange ideas with others to potentially develop digital health tech? That is one of the services that we offer. Nurse Innovation Hub advisors and mentors. If you're interested in becoming a mentor with Nurse Innovation Hub to be able to offer your coaching and or advisory mentoring service, we would love to have you. Feel free to shoot us a contact. I'll type my email direct in the messaging as well. And we would love to have you join Nurse Innovation Hub as a mentor for other nurses in the digital health tech space with your experience and expertise.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aliya. And yeah, and I agree, Alyssa. Mentors are, she just posted a comment about needing mentors. Mentors are so helpful at every stage of your nursing career, at everything that you pursue in nursing. I've had mentors throughout my whole, journey as a new grad nurse, but also in nursing leadership and now in entrepreneurship. And so I highly agree with what you're saying, Aliya, about having mentors and just connecting, because you really get so many opportunities from just making that connection.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for a mentor, if you're in that digital health tech space, Nurse Innovation Hub can match you with a mentor. So feel free to join. Like I said, it's free to join. And then we can work with you on your particular area of interest, because all the services are customized based on where you are in your journey.
Yeah, that's amazing, Aliya. And for Nursing Innovation Hub too, Aliya, I can't remember, do you have to pay for the collaboration with the technologists, or how does that work exactly?
So you join for free, register and create a profile. And based on what your interest is, we will then help match you with mentors. There is a monthly membership fee for the premium, which allows you to have access to mentors to be able to work with you.
Yeah, that's great. I highly recommend everyone to join the Nursing Innovation Hub. It's a fantastic platform and so cool. It's just really cool. Like, it's just so awesome to have people like you, Aliya, who are really, breaking down those barriers and connecting nurses directly with technologists and directly with other nurses who really want to be in this space. So,
I mean, it's very rewarding when nurses have told us, they find it rewarding. We just had another nurse join from Brazil who, it's a global platform, right? So it's designed as incubate and accelerated for nurse-led tech startups on with a global platforms that allows us to work with nurses all across. So we have nurses from Africa, from various continents and countries that have joined Nurse Innovation Hub, that we've been able to match them up with mentors in those respective where they are on their journey.
That's amazing. And there's so much to offer too with the global platform. so many nurses have so many experiences all around the world. And a lot of these hackathons too are global experiences, just like the one that we had in May. Just all these virtual events have that advantage of being global. And so definitely a lot of people to learn from.
Absolutely, for sure. And I did put my email in the chat as well, and the link to Nurse Innovation Hub. And if anyone's interested, feel free to reach out anytime and let us know. Look forward to having you, joining us, and working with you. We have a lot of great initiatives that we're working on. We have the Women's Health Tech Initiative in November, which we partner with HIT Lab to have that. I think it's November 19th, and that's actually, it's going to be super exciting. Focus on women and digital tech. We also have our mental health initiative that we're kicking off. I'm actually a judge for the mental health challenge that's coming up, and we have a lot of
that's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of really great initiatives. And in Q1 and Q2 of next year, we'll be rolling out our boot camps and our various accelerators. So stay tuned. Super excited. And check out our podcast if you haven't already. We just wrapped up our first season, and we'll be starting with our fall season.
That's great. So many great things coming up for Nursing Innovation Hub and the different things that you're involved with too. Are all those different events on the Nursing Innovation Hub website?
They are on the website. We try to update as quickly as we can, but stay abreast on more information that's coming out too.
Great. Is there a subscription? Can they actually subscribe to with their email for any of these updates?
Yeah, once you join and you create a profile, you can do that. And you can also follow Nurse Innovation Hub on LinkedIn. You can follow, I'm on LinkedIn as well. There's Instagram, Nurse Innovation Hub. We connect with a lot of nurses on Instagram as well, and through the Nurse Innovation Hub.
Great. And what other, you've already accomplished so much, Aliya, in your career as a nurse and as a technologist. And, where do you say you would go next, or what's your future aspiration? How do you plan to reach your future goals as well?
Oh, my goals change every day based on my goals change every day based on based on what happened.
Right.
But my goal is to continue on the journey that I am, because I do enjoy what I do. I love healthcare. I love technology. I love being able to connect clinical to technical and to develop new innovative ideas and work with startups and work with nurses and physicians to really help improve patient outcomes. So through all of the different ventures, through all of the experience I have, I've only had one goal, and that's to really help improve the community and patient outcomes.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I get what you mean. There's so many things happening. I mean, there's just a lot of opportunities, with goals you want to accomplish. And I agree. It's kind of goals kind of change depending on on the day and what's happening. So
I mean, my goal is to, like I said, continue with my businesses as an entrepreneur and to continue to make impact, because that's what I'm here for, is to really help serve and be impactful, particularly for minorities. I champion minority health and to help reduce health disparities in women, children, and minorities, and then also to encourage other women to seek out careers in STEM, and to help improve the way to help leverage technology to improve patient care and outcomes.
I love that, and really, really appreciate your mission too. Focusing on a lot of minorities, because I feel like there's a lot of opportunities out there. So thank you so much for all of your help and support in that regard. And looks like there's another question here.
Well, she asked about Nurse Innovation Hub helping her to match her with a mentor for her business. And so I answered the question. The answer is yes, we can absolutely do that.
Perfect. And we are getting close to the hour. So I just wanted to open the floor, for anyone who is on the call, any other people who have questions for Aliya, feel free to go ahead and put those questions in the chat. Aliya has so much to offer, in all the facets of her career and her experiences. So, do we have any other kinds of questions that anyone's interested, or even just open discussions that anyone wants to talk about? Feel free to put comments or other questions in the chat.
Okay.
Let's see.
Feel free to email me, reach out to me via LinkedIn, via Nurse Innovation Hub, via Instagram, via Twitter, all Aaron _Aliya. Those are us, my Twitter and Instagram. Also on LinkedIn, Aliya Aaron. And also, if you go to my personal web page, which is aliyaaron.com, it has all the links to my social connections on there as well.
All right, I'm finding some of your social media links and putting them on the chat as well. And you could, and everyone on the call can also follow Nursing Innovation Hub on those platforms as well. So if you want to learn more about what Aliya is doing with Nursing Innovation Hub, you can definitely follow those pages too.
Yeah. Someone asked the question, how did you handle managing a full-time job and your family while building your business? Well, at the time when I started to build the business back way in 2000, what, 5, 6, 7, 8, before I launched, I didn't have a family. I was single. And so it was much easier from my perspective because I didn't have a full-time family while I was working full-time, but I didn't have a lot of the responsibilities you have as a full-time wife and mother or family caregiver, however, whatever your relationship is. But now I do, and I find that there's a balance because I value family very much. I value time spent with my husband and my bonus children and my extended family. So I choose a balance. People say, as an entrepreneur, you work 365, 24/7. Well, I choose to balance my life with family and work to accomplish my goals.
Thank you, Aliya. That's definitely great tips, and you absolutely can manage your time. It just really just depends on where you want to focus on that. But it can be challenging for sure. So you just really have to see what's most important, or how can you really fit that time.
Absolutely. It's all about you have to take care of yourself, and before you can take care of growing and nurturing a business, or taking care of your family needs. You have to take care of yourself. So I do that. I do that on the weekends where we have family day and we spend time together, and I love it. And because that is what makes me a better person, to be able to spend time with my family, and then I can go back and dive back into business, which is a 24/7, 365 journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And Aliya, on that note too, how would you say, how do you manage the self-care too with pursuing your business? Because as you mentioned, entrepreneurship can really take a lot of time. And I feel like a lot of, you always hear about entrepreneurs working like 100 hours, how do you balance that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it really depends on yourself, your personality. It depends on how you choose to balance. Personally, I've chosen to work as long and as hard and as focused as I can, while also managing my responsibilities as a full-time wife and a bonus mom and an auntie and a sister and a friend, because I value that. Because in order
Oh, sorry, was it?
Oh, wait, I hear you somewhere.
Oh, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
So I value that for me, and it really makes me to be a very well-rounded person, to be able to speak the languages of business and life.
Right, absolutely. And, I really appreciate your time here today, Aliya. It was so great to have you. And, just want to really also thank everyone who joined us today. If ever anyone here on the call is interested in learning more about WellNurse as well, or just learning more about Aliya and her journey, please, I'll put a link to our community on WellNurse for WellNurse app. And so if you are interested, you could join us, and we'll also have more nurses that we're going to feature, and you could learn about their journeys as well. And again, Aliya has her information on the chat. If you'd like to reach out to her directly, please join the Nursing Innovation Hub. And any final words, Aliya?
Just enjoy your life, and really pursue your passion, pursue your interests. Don't take no for an answer, and be steady and be confident, and you can do all things.
Great, thank you so much. And it looks like last question is, do you keep a same schedule every week? I think just for your, how you manage your time.
Oh, I am my schedule changes because I am very consistently inconsistent, meaning that I vary my schedule to give me that variety in my life. So one thing that I do is, which is part of self-care, is I get up every morning and I exercise because I like to do that. I exercise in the mornings and I try to exercise in the evenings, and I juggle my schedule so that it is not the same every week, to help me with my my journey. You know, it helps me learn, it helps me manage. I choose to do that. I know some people have a very steady schedule and they keep it and they don't deviate from that. But my schedule, my weekly schedule, keeps me looking forward to what I have the next day.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you so much, Aliya. And we're going to have to wrap it up for now, but we look forward to having you back again, Aliya, in the future. And really, thank you so much. It was such a great conversation, and really great questions and responses. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Charlene. Always looking forward to connecting with all of you.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone.